Personal finance essentials for beginners. Not everybody wants or needs to be a financial expert, but everybody, no matter your knowledge level, should master some personal finance basics. It could be challenging to know where to start since the finance category is pretty broad, but there are a lot of individual areas that you really do need to master in order to be able to take good care of your personal finances. Think of your personal finances as though you are the CEO of your very own company. So like my household, I think of that as a business. I think the CEO of the household is probably my husband. He's probably the CFO as well. But if you think about it like a business, then you're going to pay more attention to the finances of that business. Unfortunately, our education system doesn't necessarily prepare us for real world situations, especially in personal finance basics. So I just wanted to put together this video for you today to give you just a few personal finance basics, the small amount of information that you need to really get started on them, and it'll help increase your financial literacy. So if that sounds good to you, stick around. If you haven't already subscribed here, do that in the break, and I will be right back.
GILD Coaching. More success, less stress.
The basic idea of personal finance includes the process of managing your money and how you make use of the funds that you're generating, and also how you make use of all of the abundance that is there for you to utilize. And what I mean by that is credit, lines of credit, investing opportunities, banking assets. And if you don't have all of that stuff, don't worry. When you acquire it at some point along your journey, you want to already know what it is. You don't want to have these things and then go, what do I do with this? You want to be informed ahead of the game. And so that's really what I'm hoping to help you with right now. What you should first focus on is just some financial basics that everybody should learn, like how credit cards work, how interest rates work. We're always hearing about the interest rate in the news. So it's very, very smart to establish credit with a credit card that you use and then pay off in full every single month. That's something that my parents taught me when I was very young. It's something that we're doing with our kids. That helps them to establish a line of credit without doing any damage, when they're young enough. But if you don't have good credit, get a simple low interest rate, just the lower the number, the better, credit card, but you're never really going to have to worry about the interest rate because you're going to pay it off every month just by one thing. If it's your daily coffee that you normally pay cash for, put it on your credit card. Don't spend the cash on anything else at the end of the month. Pay it off. That is what credit card companies call deadbeat customers, because they want you to have your balance carry over so that you owe them more money. It's really, really critical to learn that before getting a credit card, because it can keep money in your pocket and help you remain debt-free. Credit cards want you to charge up a lot of stuff that you don't have the cash for, so that you pay it off little by little, and you're paying them more money. So spending some time reading the fine print of credit card pamphlets and understanding what you're looking at is really very, very important. The second thing that you really need to know, and this is very important for millennials or Gen Z, I know that people don't use checkbooks very often. I used to write checks when I was younger. I have a checkbook. I very infrequently do I write a check, but it's still essential to personal finance to know how to manage a checkbook. And you can actually write down your digital transactions there so that you can keep your running balance yourself. It really helps you to understand how much is in your checking account, how much is in your savings account, and to avoid overdraft fees. Have you ever had any of that? You spend money that's not really in your account, and then the bank charges you a fee for covering that. They might be $20, $50, or $100. It's a lot of money. So even though hardly anybody writes checks anymore, it's a good idea to balance your checkbook and know how to balance your checkbook, just so that you are on top of your funds. Don't just let the computers take care of it. Also, when you're balancing your own checkbook, banks are run by people, and people make mistakes sometimes. So if you are handling your own running balance and you know what it is, if the bank has made an error, then you can point it out to them. Okay, the third thing that you need to understand for personal finance is budgeting. It can be tedious and annoying, at least to me, but it is an essential skill to develop early on and save your future financial headaches. So if you first focus on budgeting when you're having a financial change, then it might be a little bit more challenging. But get your system in place. Figure out what percentage of your income goes to housing or food, and live within that amount. That will keep you from going into debt for things that you don't really need. This is a personal finance basic that everybody should master. So spend some time on your bills, on your living expenses, on what you're spending money on, your savings, and then you can actually create a budget calendar to write everything down and put a plan together. And then also further explore why this matters so much. You will end up spending more than you think if you don't have a budget. One thing that you really need to focus on with no matter what your feelings are toward the credit scoring system is building good credit is really very essential. If you need good credit, if you find yourself in a place where you need good credit, you'll be very glad that you invested here. It can affect your ability to rent an apartment, buy a house, get a car. Bad credit scores can taunt you for a while. It's not very easy to crawl out of that hole, but there is hope. You can fix it over time, but everybody should understand how it works, how you can fix mistakes, and how you can increase your score, and then how to monitor it. There's this cool tool called Credit Karma, and you can create an account there. You can check your scores, you can get tips, apply for credit cards, more things like that. You should also learn basic investing and stock market basics. Don't be intimidated or scared to invest your money in the stock market. It is an essential part of your finances. In building wealth, it's essential to securing your future retirement as well. A lot of people say, oh, well, I have a 401k plan. That's great, but those funds aren't just sitting there. They're invested in something. So you should really understand how the options that you've chosen perform in the marketplace. So start with the very basics of investing, how it works. 401k is a great way. Roth IRA is a great way to move into managing your investment portfolio. And then that's an easy way for you to kind of see what maintenance looks like on it. So you can learn on your own using investing books or websites. You can reach out to somebody who you trust, who's been investing for years. You don't have to become a famous investor like Warren Buffett, but you could definitely be savvy enough to be investing and know why you need to stay invested or why you need to shift that investment. And the last basic personal finance skill that I'm going to talk to you about today is managing your debt. First, don't think of debt as bad. Not all debt is bad debt. Some debt is bad debt. I'd say if you go and spend you spend money on a car that you don't need, money that you don't have on a car that you don't need when you already had a vehicle that was fine and you just wanted this one because it's fancy or whatever, I would say that's bad debt. Credit card debt for things that you didn't really need. I would say that's bad debt. Good debt, I would say, are mortgages, things that are going to appreciate in value, things of that nature. It's really essential that you learn how to manage debt from day one. So the goal here is to understand how debt works, what the interest rates are, and how to pay it off faster. I had a 30-year mortgage years ago, and my uncle pointed out to me that if I paid 14% more than I had to just on the principal payment, I could turn that 30-year mortgage into a 15-year mortgage, which means I would own my home outright after 15 years instead of 30 years. That's huge. And it was just by adding a couple $100 extra every month. And at the time I was like, woo, I can think of other things to do with that couple $100, but I'm so glad that I didn't. I'm so glad that I followed his advice and did that extra 14, I think it was 14.5%, because it made all the difference in the equity and the amount of the house that I owed at the time. And it made all the difference in the amount of time that it took to own it outright. So make sure that you avoid high interest debt whenever you can. If you do have a rolling balance on your credit card, pay the minimum every month, but try to pay more than the minimum. If you're only paying the minimum, it drags out your payments. It costs you more than twice the money that you would have originally spent. and it's just not a very good idea. So there are lots of different articles out there. I know LinkedIn has a lot of resources about how to pay off debt in a year, how to get rid of your debt snowball, five simple ways to pay off a mortgage faster, things like that. So go and just search for those very specific topics. If you search for broad topics, you're going to get broad results. So get as specific as you can with your topic search, but I really recommend that you start to focus on those 6 things: managing your debt, investing, how to establish your own credit, how to fix it, the budget basics for you, for your own personal budget, how to balance a checkbook, even if you don't write checks, and how credit cards and interest rates really work. Those 6 things are really the core of personal finance. If you can master those, or if you don't even have to master them, if you can have a general understanding of all of those, you will be more successful in your personal finance. If this was helpful to you, give us a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe before you go, and I'll see you next time that we drop a video to help you live a more successful, lower stress life. Bye.